next time,
Yes.
don't take it out of Prabhupada.
Yes.
You see on the side there are two of them singing. Bring those ones. These ones don't come out from Prabhupada. Okay, just to let you know. Okay, I'm not initiated. Yes, so that's why it's not right for me to get it. So next time, if it's initiated, it's fine. But then you go take those ones which are on the side. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. So welcome everyone back to our evening Bhagavad Gita classes. We are going to be continuing with the introduction. So before we start, let's invoke the Mangalachar and the blessings of the divine. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. So we had stopped at the paragraph, or we begin with the paragraph that says, in the Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods is, that's where we start. It's on page around 18, page 18, maybe page 18. You found it, Prabhu? You found it? It says, in the Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods. Okay. So, introduction by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Again. In the Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods or rendering service to them is not approved. It is stated in the 7th chapter, 20th verse, Kamais taiste rita gnanaha prapadyante anya devata tam tam niyamam asthaya prakritya niyatha svaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Here it is plainly said that those who are directed by lust worship the demigods and not the Supreme Lord Krishna. When we mention the name Krishna, we do not refer to any sectarian name. Krishna means the highest pleasure, and it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is a reservoir or storehouse of all pleasure. We are all hankering after pleasure, Anandamayo Abhyasat. The living entities, like the Lord, are full of consciousness, and they are after happiness. The Lord is perpetually happy, and if the living entities associate with the Lord, cooperate with Him, and take part in His association, then they also become happy. Okay. So, at the beginning of this paragraph says that worship of different demigods or rendering service unto them is not approved. Okay? Why is it not approved? Because demigod worship is normally done out of lust. Now, what is lust? In lust, we do as we please. We put ourselves at the center. We want something out of it. Yeah, so it's more like a business transaction. There is no exchange of love there. It's that I want something, that is why I am worshipping you, because I want something out of it, right? So these are done because of material desires. A person has material desire, that is why he worships demigods. Okay? So we do as we please and not according to the rules and regulations as per the Shastras. So we do stuff based on our own mental speculation of what worship means. Right? Now, when we do stuff out of our own mental speculation, we decide what is right and what is wrong or how to worship. I think I know the best way to worship somebody. But we don't realize that actually it's not that we decide, but it is the modes that control us that decide how we worship. Because we are controlled by the modes of material nature. So there are even different types. There are even different types of worship that we do in the three modes. There is worship or sacrifices or penances that are performed in the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and also in the mode of goodness. So let us see what is this worship, stroke penance, and sacrifice that we do in the mode of ignorance. In the mode of ignorance, we just cause harm to ourselves or to other living beings when we are doing our worship. Okay? So how do we harm ourselves? We harm our body by voluntarily undergoing atonement which actually causes pain to the body. Right? Like, we only think that atonement means to give like for like, and then we just undertake self-torture as part of our atonement, as part of our way to worship a higher entity. Just like we have in the mode of ignorance, like there are certain groups of people or certain devotees who perform animal sacrifices. Now this is harming to others. They perform certain animal sacrifices that uh, they offer a smaller animal like a goat or something to a deity, and then they enjoy the flesh of that of the animal. We can also go up to the point where they also sacrifice a human. In the Bhagavatam, in the sixth canto, I think, there comes a story of Jada Bharat. And in his third life, so we have the first life, which is Maharaj Bharat, then we have him as a deer, and then he comes back and he is Jad Bharat. And as Jad Bharat, he is captured by worshippers of Kalima, and they prepare to sacrifice him, because as part of a sacrifice, you can only sacrifice a human who seems to be a mad person. So Jad Bharat was posing himself as a very mad person. Although he was very highly spiritually elevated, just because he did not want to become again trapped by the illusory modes, he decided to play dumb, to act mad. And so these worshippers, they mistook him. They did not see his high spiritual level and just mistook him to be a mad person. And they were ready to slaughter him, to sacrifice him. And just before he was going to be slaughtered, Kalima just broke out from the deity and killed all the worshippers, because she cannot see the highest devotee of the Lord being treated in such a way, even if it is from her own devotees. Right? So that is how people who in the mode of ignorance can stoop to those levels where they cause harm to other people, and they also cause harm to their own body. Like a very nice example of that is Hiranyakashipu. He did such a huge and terrible penances to get the favor of Lord Brahma. Same was done by Ravana to get the favor of Lord Shiva. So the demons or the people with demonic nature, when they do worship, when they do penances, they actually cause harm to themselves and to others, and also with the intention to cause harm to others. Like, if I do this, I'll get power, and with this power, I'll be able to subjugate all others. Yes, so this is worship in the mode of ignorance. Now, what about the worship in the mode of passion? So in the mode of passion, the worship is based for material benefits. Like it is said in chapter 17, text number 12 of the Gita, that the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of the Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion. So people who do worship in the mode of passion, they are looking that while they do this, people start to praise them. Oh, they're making a show of how religious they are. And what is happening internally? That they want to do it for pride. They want to do it for name and fame. Or they want it so that their material desires are fulfilled. So this is in the mode of passion. And in the mode of goodness, worship is based according to the directions of the Vedas, and it is done as a matter of duty without expectation of results. All of this is mentioned in the 17th chapter of the Gita. Okay? Now somebody might ask, so why is it that you cannot worship any of the devotees or demigods with love and only with lust? You can do it with love, but what will happen if you do it with love? If you don't want anything in return, then what happens is that those demigods will then push you towards worshipping Krishna. This is what happened with Narasimha Mehta. In the beginning of his life, He was a huge devotee of Lord Shiva, and he did not want anything from Shiva. So what did Lord Shiva do? He blessed him with Krishna Prema. He blessed him with Krishna Bhakti. Yeah. So even if you worship demigods without any ulterior motive, what those demigods will do is that they will push you to worship the person that they worship. And they worship Krishna. Okay? Now, even if you worship Krishna with a lustful desire, even if you come to Krishna and worship Krishna for some material benefit, not purely for bhakti, not purely for love, even that is good. Krishna says in the seventh chapter that those people who approach me, even if they are distressed, even if they desire of wealth, even if they are curious, or even if they are intellectually interested in me, all of them are pious because they have now come to the source of everything. They've come to the source of all pleasure. So even if a person comes to Krishna with the desire to fulfill his lust and to fulfill his material desires, Krishna, like a responsible parent, will make sure that he guides that person to want to desire the right thing. Now, what is the example of this? Dhruva Maharaj. So why did Dhruva Maharaj start to worship Krishna? Because he had the desire to have a kingdom that is even bigger than his father and his grandfather. Now his grandfather is Lord Brahma himself. Yeah? So how can you have a kingdom greater than that? But he said, no, I want it. And so he went to the forest to meditate on Lord Vishnu so that he can get a huge and a kingdom that is greater than his grandfather. And then what happened? As soon as he saw Lord Vishnu in front of him, then what happened? He said that what he had asked for and what I'm getting to see you is like I'm asking for broken pieces of glass. So Krishna will spiritualize our material lustful desires, just like a responsible parent. As long as a kid will want chocolate, the parents will not give the chocolate just like that, because they know that the chocolate is bad for the child. So then what do they do? They will restrain, or they will not give until the kid realizes himself that I don't want this, it is bad for me. Yes? And then when the child realizes, becomes responsible that this thing is not good for me, then when the parent gives it, the child will not misuse it. Yeah, will keep it away, will distribute it, but he will not take it for himself. Or if he enjoys it, he will enjoy it only with the permission of the parent. And Krishna says that I am the parent. He says in 14.4, Aham bija Aham bija pradapita, that I am the seed giving father. He is our father. All the demigods are like the other relatives who just want the attention of the child. And they'll get the attention by giving chocolate easily. So when the child is not yet mature, he will get tempted by the offerings of the relatives. Because the relatives, what do they want? They just want that the child likes them. Right? So they don't care about the consequences of what will happen to the child after having the chocolate. That consequence is only thought about by the parent, because the parent loves the child so much, right? So this is how we can understand that Krishna will wait and wait and wait and not give us our material desires until we become qualified enough to be able to handle that and not get deviated from our spiritual path. Because He wants all of us to go back to Him. Ultimately, that is what He wants. So He safeguards our spiritual progress and will only give and grant material desires if they are not impediments to our spiritual progress. Okay? So now what happens is, because of this, many people who are not very well versed in the Vedic understanding, they say that those people who worship Krishna, they are paupers. Why would you want to worship Krishna? He doesn't give you anything. Go worship any other demigod. You will get so many material benefits very fast. But what these people do not understand is that the worshippers of Lord Krishna, they have an asset which is greater than any material asset. They have got the spiritual asset. And what is that spiritual asset? They have got Krishna Bhakti and Krishna Prema. And this asset is greater than any other asset. And how do we know this? There's a story of a Brahmana who had a daughter that he needed to marry off, but he had no money. And so he was worshipping Lord Shiva. And then Lord Shiva came in his dream and he said, if you go to Vrindavan, you will meet a personality by the name of Sanatana Goswami. And you meet him and he will solve all your problems. And so this Brahmana went to Vrindavan and he inquired around, where can I meet this Sanatana Goswami? And so finally went and he got to meet him. And he told Sanatana Goswami that I was told in my dream by Lord Shiva that you can help me in my problem. He said, yeah, I can help you. He said, how can you help me? So Sanatana Goswami said, like, just check in the trash that there might be a stone called a Chintamani stone. That if you just touch this stone on any metal object, it turns into gold. So you have as much money that you need to marry off your daughter in a lavish way. So the Brahmana went through the trash, he looked around and he finally found the stone. And then he was so happy and so relieved that he went back and he did his entire daughter's wedding in a very lavish way. But then a thought struck him that this is such a valuable thing and it was lying in the trash. So if this is such a valuable stone and is lying in the trash, surely he must be having something that is more valuable than this. So then he went back to Sanatana Goswami and he said that, I can't believe you gave me this like for free. So this is such a wonderful object, but you kept it in the trash. That means that you must have an even more valuable commodity. Can you please give that to me? And so Sanatana Goswami said, yes, I do have a much more valuable commodity, but I can only give it to you on one condition. Said, what is the condition? That you must go and throw this stone in the Yamuna so that even you cannot find it. And then take a bath, shave your head, wear a clean set of clothes, and then come back to me. And so the Brahmana was very happy. He hurriedly went and did as instructed by Sanatana Goswami. And as soon as he came back, he said, yes, Guru, please give me that commodity. And then he gave him his chanting beads. And said, this is the highest commodity. If you keep on chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you keep on chanting this way, then you will get the best commodity of all, and that is Krishna Prema. Okay? So this is This is the benefit of doing Krishna Bhakti, and why Krishna is repeatedly saying in the Gita that going to the demigods is like taking a detour. You're just unnecessarily increasing your entanglement in this world. It's better that you come directly to me. Okay? Now, the second point that comes out from this paragraph is that we all want pleasure, but that is only possible at the source of pleasure, right? And that source of pleasure is who? Krishna. So the question is, if only Krishna is a source of pleasure, then why doesn't everyone seek pleasure there directly? Why are people searching for happiness here? Good question to ask. Why is it that if Krishna is the source of pleasure, then why are people so dumb and not going directly there? Yeah? Why are they trying to find pleasure here? The answer is because Krishna has infused the material world with lower levels of happiness. Yeah? It has infused this place with lower levels of happiness. But ultimately, these levels of happiness, they are temporary. And thus, although we pursue them, it ultimately leads one to be frustrated. Right? If people actually thought that this place was Dukhalyam and Ashashatam, if they really realize this, then they will all be flocking here. There will be no one outside. The whole of Mombasa will be here. But this is not the case. Hardly a few people are here, and the rest of them are outside, because there is some sort of happiness outside, but the nature of that happiness is temporary. Yes? And it is going to give you a source of misery out of it. At the end of it, it's just going to give you misery. So, how does Krishna, who is the source of all pleasure, he is known as Anandamai, he is full of Ananda, Satchit Ananda, is full of Ananda. How does he trickle his happiness or his power of happiness in this world? And that is done by something known as the 5 koshas, or the 5 sheets of consciousness. The first, at the very basic, is Anamai, meaning only being conscious and getting happiness from food. The whole world runs on this primary level of consciousness. That as long as I am full with full belly, I'm happy. That is at the very least. Now at this level, and the only living entities that have this level is the level of trees. The trees are only able to get the nutrients and their food from the soil and from the water. Yeah, they cannot express anything more than that. That is their level of consciousness. One higher is Pranamay. Now, in Pranamay, a living entity is conscious of food, so he looks at everything as potential food, and is also conscious of his own existence. And so these are like insects, like mosquitoes. They just go around trying to suck blood, and they are conscious that they are moving and they are alive. Then one more is called Manomay or Jnanamay. At this level, there is now an awareness or conscious awareness that there is a mind, that there is thinking, feeling and willing. And more than that is now you are entering into the transcendental way, Vijnanmay. Means you understand that yes, I have a physical body which is sustained by food. I have consciousness within me, and I have a mental faculty within me. So I've got gross body and subtle body, and the fact that I know I'm conscious. And then you realize that, well, I cannot only be these three, there must be something more. So this is when Vignan mind comes to the level of understanding that I am spirit, that I am beyond matter. And then the fifth level of consciousness is Anandamai, where now you understand that the highest sort of happiness is not in the material realm, but it is in the spiritual realm. Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish ki jai, Sita Ram Lakshmana Hanuman ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitaya ki jai. Right? So this level or 5 levels are different levels of consciousness that we can reach. And because we are always hankering for happiness, for pleasure, we are naturally seeking the Anandamai. That is why the Vedanta Sutra says, Anandamai Abhyasat. We are always hankering for pleasure. And who is the personification of Ananda? Krishna. So it is only when we connect with Krishna are we able to be fully happy. As it is said that if the living entity associates with the Lord, cooperates with Him and takes part in His association, then they also become happy. Okay. Now let us move on. It says in the next paragraph, the Lord descends to this mortal world to show His pastimes in Vrindavan, which are full of happiness. When Lord Krishna was in Vrindavan, his activities with his coward boyfriends, with his damsel friends, and with other inhabitants of Vrindavan, and with the cows were all full of happiness. The total population of Vrindavan knew nothing but Krishna. But Lord Krishna even discouraged his father Nanda Maharaj from worshipping the demigod Indra, because he wanted to establish the fact that people need not worship any demigods. They need only worship the Supreme Lord, because their ultimate goal is to return to His abode. So the connection between these two verses shows that Krishna is the Supreme, right? There is no need to worship anyone else. And this is again shown by the Govardhan Leela, right? Krishna does a Govardhan Leela to basically show that you don't need to worship anyone else. Just think of me. Just like how the whole of Vrindavan was connected with Krishna. They were only thinking about Krishna. And when you're only thinking about Krishna, then you're not going to be feeling any sort of suffering. Everything is full of down to this world, earthly planets. In fact, Krishna has called such people fools of the highest order. Krishna himself has said this. Where does he say this? In chapter 9, text number 11. Abhajananti mam buddha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. That fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So we need to take the statement of Krishna very seriously and avoid the association of such people of whose intelligence has been stolen by Maya. So we have to continue to stay in Krishna consciousness and stay with the association of devotees of Lord Krishna, so that we can day by day increase our faith in the words of Lord Krishna and in the process of Krishna Bhakti. Then only will we rediscover that Anandamai, that feeling of complete bliss and happiness that is available in the spiritual world. Okay? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.